Good morning, everybody. We're so glad to have you here on the farm with us today because today is moving day. This is a video all about how to integrate new chickens into existing flocks. And I think this video is special because I'm not only going to tell you about some tips and tricks to introducing your new chickens to a flock, but I'm going to show you how to do it. And I'm going to do it 3 different ways. So today is my video with 10 tips and tricks to integrating new chickens into existing flocks. Alright, tip number 1 is age. So you need to think about the age of the chicken that you are integrating into the flock, but you also need to think about the flock age. So I'm going to give you some numbers. If you're afraid you may not remember this, just take a screenshot because I am going to put it on the screen. Some ages to remember. So we have a lot of young flocks at our house right now, which can easily happen if you decide to incubate your own chicks or you buy chicks from your local feed store. Hugh is really excited about all of this. So if you did that and you have chickens that are either 3 months old or younger, and you would like to integrate more chickens into that flock, then your new chickens only need to be at least 4 weeks old. Now, if you have adult chickens and you have a flock that's been established and they are fully mature adult chickens and roosters, then I highly suggest they be at least 12 weeks old before you introduce them to that mature flock. Now, if you Google how old are chickens allowed to be to integrate them into my flock, you're going to get a lot of different answers. So the 12 weeks is just my personal opinion. Okay, and then tip number 2 is I want you to think about numbers. So especially if we're talking about adult chickens, it's best to try to keep your numbers as equal as possible. So if you have 5 chickens in your existing flock, try to integrate 5 chickens into your new flock. But if this isn't possible, then just make sure that it's 3 or more. If it's only 1 or 2 chickens, they can be so easily picked on, and that leads to injury. And we want to avoid any kind of too much stress or injury to our chickens during this time of transition. Tip number 3 and 4 has to do with the move that we're just about to do. And I'm about to show you how that went. But my tip for this one that we're highlighting in this portion of the video is tip number 3, and that is move them to a neutral location. So chickens, just like many other creatures, begin to feel territorial about their own space. So if it is possible, for example, if you are buying more chickens because you just built them a new structure and you have more space, and so therefore you are buying new chickens, then move them all into that new space at the same time. This does 2 things. 1, the trick of neutral ground, so that nobody has established areas or anything like that. And then that leads me to tip number 4, distraction. So anything that can distract them helps during this first few moments of transition. So this could be the fact that they're in a new place and they're distracted by everything around them. Or 2, put out food, their favorite treats. Distract especially your existing flock from the newcomers so that they can mingle together without stress. So if you'll distract them with something they enjoy, this often helps with these first few moments during transition. Okay guys, well this went perfectly. The rooster in the front right there, y'all may recognize him from my last video. He was in with my lavenders and my leg bars, but I needed him out so I could put in the baby lavenders because I didn't want him to hurt them. And I just stuck him in with my other 3 roosters that have been together for a really long time, and as you can tell, they haven't even noticed. I just moved them all down here at the same time. That's a good tip. But guys, it's in the middle of the day. It's not even nighttime. I considered doing this at night and sticking them all into the coop together, and then they wake up and they don't even know the difference, that they haven't always been together. But it's the middle of the day. I brought them all down here. They are acclimating well to their new space. I think that might be what's also distracting them. It's always easier if you have common ground to put them in, where one of them has a grasshopper right now, so he's running around. But even that, they're not squabbling, they're just chasing him like normal. This is great, guys. So this makes me really look like I know what I'm doing. Oh, I do want to talk about this group of roosters here really quick. You may think, wow, she's got 4 roosters together. That seems really odd. The trick is that there are no hens down here, and there are none anywhere near here. The other things you need is plenty of food, so they don't feel like they need to fight over food, and they've got plenty of space. So there's absolutely nothing to compete about. Therefore, I can put probably up to 10 roosters down here together, and they will be perfectly happy. Oh, they just noticed each other. He's like, wow, you're big. See, this is called finding the pecking order. And I knew it would happen eventually. I just set them in. So that's probably it, guys. They'll do that a few times. They'll decide who's in charge, and they will learn to coexist happily together in their own little pen down here. For this next portion of the video, I am moving my youngest chickens, my 4-week-old lavender Orpingtons, in with a rather large but young flock. So for this, I'm going to tell you, give them time to acclimate. So we did this by putting a pen into the chicken run. You could do this by, I've seen a lot of people build some really pretty temporary pens inside of their existing chicken run. This works very well. It gives the chickens time to see them and become accustomed to them being there, but they can't hurt them. Tip number 7 is prepare your space. So especially when I am releasing these little tiny babies into the chicken coop, number 1, they're not big enough to even reach the feed that is in the feeder for our bigger chickens. So I am going to provide them a few options for eating, especially if the big chickens try to protect their food. So you're always going to provide a separate food and water for your little chickens that you are integrating into your existing flock. And then I'm also going to make sure there are not places where they can get trapped. You might give them some things to jump up on. So you're going to want to prepare your space. So as you can see, we've got 4 little chickens over there. Those are some of our lavender Orpingtons. And so there are 3 females, 3 hens, and a rooster. And they are exactly 4 weeks old, which is the soonest you could integrate chickens into a new flock here. Now, it has not been perfect. There has been a little bit of pecking, right? Because there's always the pecking order. That's why it's called that. And funny enough, so there's this little feeder over here that I put for the babies just in case they were blocking the other feeder, the big one over here. But of course, our big lavenders are helping themselves. So here we are. But it's kind of distracting them in these first few moments. After I've let them out of, what you can obviously see is a small dog crate in this pen. So that is another technique you can use. You can put your babies in the pen. They've been in this pen for almost a week inside of the bigger run where all the other chickens are in order to keep them safe. Everything's going really well. Again, they're all kind of distracted by food. That's another technique. You could throw out some seed. It kind of distracts everybody while they're getting used to each other. They're still pretty skittish. Also, this is the first time they've been out where they can run, not in a brooder or not in that little cage. So it's kind of a big moment for our babies over here. I think they're really enjoying their time in the outdoors. So All is going well, guys. We will check back in with everybody later.
So what I almost think.
Okay, so for this last integration, I'm kind of pulling out all the stops. You will notice that I'm going to use all of my tips in this last one. But my new tip is to in the evening or even after dark. So if you've been messing with chickens very long, you know that chickens go into this kind of strange, hypnotic, half asleep, half awake state at night. And they are super easy to catch and move. But the other funny and convenient part about chickens is that if you move them at night, they kind of wake up in a new world. So if you move your new chickens in and you put them in the coop with your chickens at nighttime, and then they wake up the next morning together, often this works as a complete distraction, and the chickens, your existing flock, won't even know that the new chickens haven't always been there. It's kind of funny, actually. But this evening, you're going to see me move mine late in the evening, which means they're just about to go to bed, but it's not dark yet, so they haven't gotten into the... So we're going to move them right before dark, so that they have a little bit of time to get used to each other. I can watch and monitor, which is tip number 7. So tip number 7 is you need to monitor to make sure that your transition goes smoothly. That means you're going to watch to see if you have a bully. If you have a bully, you can pull them out. If you have one that's getting picked on, you can pull them out. All right, everybody. So I wanted to show you this setup we have going on. So we have Hugh the Roo, and he has his lady, and they've been together since we bought them last year in March, and we at the same time bought some hatching eggs. So one of these hens to my right is the result of one of those hatching eggs, and then one was born a couple months later. So these chickens we have had next to each other for a couple months now, and now we are ready to put them together. So I will admit, Hugh will probably be nice, I suspect, to our new friends here, but his lady is very territorial and not very nice. So I will be here to watch and intervene if necessary. So we are just about to move them and put them into a pen together. We have acclimated them for as long as humanly possible. They have been able to look at each other and spend a lot of time together, and truthfully already act like a flock, but she's been unable obviously to get to them, so we'll just have to see how it goes. That's why you always sit and you monitor and you watch and you understand that they are going to fight a little bit, because she needs them to know that she is in charge and that they are not, and that they are smaller than her. She's definitely, I assume, gonna let them know. You may notice that it is evening, so the sun is going down, which means hopefully they will be ready for bed and ready to rest here soon and won't have a lot of time to bicker, if you will. And then in the morning they will probably have already acclimated, and there will be very little squabbles after that. So this is also a technique. I could get them all in the middle of the night, but they're kind of hard to get out of these nest boxes in the middle of the night. So I don't want to have to try to crawl into them and pull them out at nighttime, because that can be kind of hard. So we're just going to do it in the evening and hope that that is enough. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so I know it does not look very good, but funny enough, he is actually protecting them from her a little, but she still has to show them who's boss. I don't want them to get cornered places, so this is what I may get in there and move so that they don't feel cornered there. She's actually just getting a drink, so she's definitely going to have to show them who's boss. Just put them all in together into this new coop. So I'm going to go in there and move the water thing so that she can't corner them in there. Thank goodness they are smaller and faster than she is.
Yeah, you may just put the water even on in a different place, like over here.
They're very upset because I grabbed them.
Yes.
Hugh and his lady do not like to be grabbed.
Alright, I'll fix the ladder.
And again, guys, the sun's about to go down, so they should all be bedding down. I do want to point something else out. The front is not on this chicken coop because we did not want a place that she could trap them. This causes or can cause injury. If the younger new chickens are unable to get to safety or they get trapped in a corner, that is not good. So we left the front off of this chicken coop, you can see, and in a few days we'll put it on. It's very warm still here in Texas, so they're not even needing a place to really get out of the weather other than the fact that they're under a metal awning, and so they cannot be rained on, and they are perfectly safe from the elements. So you can tell the two younger chickens are very big when I pick them up, but they are nothing in comparison to these two full-grown chickens. But the next chicken integration I'm going to show you is with younger chickens, and so I'm hoping it will go well. One of the things that really helps this situation is numbers. So there are 2 adult chickens here, 1 chicken and 1 rooster, and there are 2 young, and so they are not super outnumbered. They are a little bit in size, obviously, but they are not outnumbered. There are 2 of them, and there are 2 adults, which is an important factor with this. It would be dangerous to introduce these 2 to, say, a 10 chicken flock. Then they could really end up with injuries and things like that because they could get ganged up on by a lot of chickens. So what we're going to do, obviously you see things have calmed down. It's only been a few minutes and they're beginning to calm down. It doesn't mean that there will still not be squabbles, as I like to say, but we will monitor. What we're going to do is I'm going to come out and check on them and check for any kind of injury, any kind of feathers everywhere, or if they seem to be, you know, I may take her out for a little while and give them a break. Some options I can do is I can put the adult female hen in a cage in here, because I have a lot of crates and things I can put them in, so I could put her in a crate and give them a break, but not completely remove her. You always have to have kind of a plan B, and you need to monitor and you need to be ready to intervene if necessary, because you don't want anybody to get hurt. Alright, so we'll check back on them later. Hey guys, on a slightly unrelated note, now that we've moved everything around, I can kind of tell you about the purpose of going ahead and integrating everyone and moving them around. So as you can see, these are our 4 Phantoms that have been together for a really long time, but they have almost reached maturity, which means probably they were not going to get along. We had 2 roosters and 2 hens in the same pen, and as any good chicken owner knows, you can't keep roosters with that few hens together for very long. And the only reason it was working for us at the time is because they had not reached maturity. But we are that quickly approaching maturity on both of these roosters, and so it was about time to get them separated. So I was glad we were able to do that before they even, you know, fought each other. much, and they get to still be next to each other, but as you can see, we've got a block so as to not stress out our growing flocks. But that's one of the reasons we split everybody up and why we're having moving day. So we got to move these guys into their new home as well. Lastly, tip number 10. If, despite your best efforts, one of your chickens is injured, you need to have a backup plan and a place that you can put them so that they have time to heal. So, for example, if one of them gets pecked and has a little tiny injury, or they're trying to get away and they pull a muscle or get hurt, you need a place that you can put them so that they can rest for a little while. So, tip number 10, remove the injured, because an injured chicken is going to be a picked on chicken, which is going to end up being a dead chicken. Okay guys, on a slightly unrelated note, we have one of our leg bars in a pen by themselves today because I don't know if you can tell, but she's got a little bit of a wobbly leg. And what was happening was she was laying down and then she was getting stepped on by the bigger lavenders in one of our other pens. Yeah, you can see she's definitely pulled a muscle in one of her legs. So in this circumstance where you're moving around a lot of birds, injuries can happen. We've been lucky. We have had no signs of injury, but if you have a bird that gets injured, what you need to do immediately is remove them, and they need their own space to heal and recover. Okay, because definitely an injured bird is going to be picked on by the others, or just like this sweet thing, accidentally stepped on. And so she needs time to heal. We're not exactly sure what happened. The leg bars are a little bit crazy. They like to jump up on things. They like to climb. So it could be that she just landed funny and was hurt, has a muscle. I've picked her up. I've turned her over. There are no signs of damage. So just have a plan. Again, a dog crate in the pen. You don't necessarily have to remove them, especially if you don't think if they're injured, not sick. Sick birds need to be removed entirely. But since she's just injured, see, we have... Okay, Hugh. We have her right next to other birds so that she does not feel lonely, see? Because chickens don't like to be alone. They get lonely. They don't like to be alone. So she doesn't feel like she's alone, but she can't be hurt. And she doesn't have to push her way through to get to the water or the food. She has access to everything she needs and time to heal. If you liked this video, guys, please remember to like and subscribe. And if you haven't already, check us out on Facebook and Instagram. I love to post things during the week if you want to get updates constantly about what's happening on the farm. Please do that as well, and I'll see y'all next time. Hey, shoo. Don't touch the thing. Can't stay out of the camera, can you? Hi, sweet girl. You're so funny.